And now, Kyle and Steven present another episode of the Go F Yourself podcast. It's Fix. Really? Well, that's embarrassing. The Go Fix Yourself podcast.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Go Fix Yourself podcast, the podcast where we try to fix our worldview one conversation at a time.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, sitting next to me, as always, my right-hand man, Stevel Knievel, not even wearing a hat or a beanie
I know.
today.
I did the hair today.
You are wild.
I did the hair.
You are living in the future because you're not going to have that for long. We're both going
It's
bald.
funny that you said Stevel Knievel because that was my gamer tag back in the old Xbox 360 days. Or even before that. It was like Xbox, the first one.
Xbox.
Yeah.
Just Xbox by itself.
Shows how much I game right now. It's just the Xbox.
Yeah. Well, we have a very special episode today. Sitting across from us, Lonnie Ridgeway. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Is there music in the background for me coming in?
We will put it in.
All right, yeah,
There will be something.
The rest
just
of the
really
music
good.
is just our mouths.
Nice.
So
Nice.
we'll just...
Editing, right? That's what that. Okay, cool.
Editing is good. So
Yeah.
we have this kind of portion we do almost every episode where Rick and Carol, his parents over in the East Coast, New York, they believe we have zero friends.
Okay.
You know, they look at Steven and I and they're like, you guys need to branch out, find some people to hang out with. So we started this podcast to show them we're not losers.
Absolutely.
It's the only
as
reason.
one does.
I did get a Facebook comment saying, I don't know any black people and we need them here. So would you...
That was from me.
Yeah, that was
Kyle. That was Kyle.
That was from Kyle Creeding. Yeah, I was trying to change my name on a different Facebook.
Smile.
Yeah. There's these
Treating.
two guys that need some street cred. Anyways, so what we like to do is we like to have you kind of just give just a brief little about me to Rick and Carol and let them know who you are, what you're kind of doing right now, and just a quick little thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's do this quick. So my name is Lonnie Ridgeway. I live here in Anchorage, Alaska. I'm a business owner, entrepreneur. I am a community activist. So I go out into schools and I speak to kids and try to uplift them. That's kind of my thing. That's kind of my passion. Yeah, I'm passionate about that. I'm a father. I'm a husband. And I have a podcast myself called Dad Stop Podcast. But all those things wrapped into one is pretty much who I am and what I do in this season of life.
I love it.
Nice.
Is that good?
Yeah, I think that encapsulates everything.
Podcast over, honestly. No,
Carol,
just
you're
Professional
welcome.
athlete without the contract. I like to put that in there.
Oh. Well, we're going to have to get into that because, I mean, that's my familiarity with you is more of our college days. And we have the mutual connection of Chris Bryant. But, like, take us back to kind of like, you grew up here. Where'd you go to school? Like, and I know basketball is a huge part of your life up to college days because, I mean, unless you were professional badminton or what was it?
I just like the professional athlete.
Yeah, I know. That's always
Without the contract. You like that?
That's smart.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm going to use that. Can I steal that from you?
100%.
Not the athlete, but I'll be like,
I'm a
professional filmmaker without a film. I'm a professional musician without a record label. Like, I'm doing it.
Yeah. I'm an actor without the contract. Like, oh my goodness.
You can go on.
You can go on.
I'm a professional podcaster without a good podcast.
That is true. That is true. We got it going.
Yeah.
We need to fix this podcast.
Yeah.
So, just run us through kind of like growing up a little bit. What's family dynamics like? Where did you, go to school? Where'd you find basketball?
Yeah.
Are you from Anchorage?
I am from Anchorage. Actually, so is it your parents from New York?
Mm-hmm.
What part?
East Coast, upstate New York. So like 3 hours north-ish.
So
of New York
my
City.
family hails from Niagara Falls, Buffalo.
Oh, so you're really close.
Where they at?
My parents are Corning.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
No
Mom,
shit.
Dad, what's up, baby? Family?
Yeah.
No shit. That's
You know,
crazy.
my mom. Yeah. So,
Even when I say like people like when I say like upstate New York, some people are like okay near Rochester. I'm like you know of Rochester?
Yeah, Rochester. What?
And then so it's like usually, and then I'll be like, well, Corning. And they're like, oh, I never heard of that one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you've heard of Corning?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's
as
about
far
it.
as
There's
goes.
not, yeah.
That's more than most people in Alaska. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's a small place, right? Town.
Very small. Yeah. Pretty small. That's where like Corning glass corporation, and that's like the only thing keeping this town
A lot of
alive.
factory jobs there in that area. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. It's a small place, still love it, but anyway, this isn't about me, this is about you.
Oh yeah.
So Niagara Falls.
Buffalo, that's where my family hails from. But me, myself, I've been here, Anchorage, Alaska, the majority of my life. Actually, pretty much all my life. I spent some summers back there with my family, but from here, that's where I'm from. I'm Alaskan. This is the Alaskan blood in me. Family dynamics. So, grew up, single family home. My father, even though he wasn't consistently in my life, when he was there, he was good, but he struggled with the whole drugs, crack cocaine, that whole crime scene, all that stuff. So even though he was always lived in the same city as me, there'd be times where 3 weeks, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, I wouldn't see or hear from him.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
And then there would be times where, I lived with him and he was consistent in my life. And whenever he was there, he was super good dad. It wasn't that often, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't have many thoughts or just kind of memories of him being consistently there. Mm-hmm. But when he was there, it was good. But grew up from a single family home. My mom, I have a little brother. I have 5 older sisters. One of them came from my mom. So my mom had us 3, and then my dad had 4 or 5 out there rolling around. But yeah, we were a tight unit. And so you asked when basketball came in.
Yeah.
Basketball came in super young. I think when I was a kid, some kids would call me soft. And one of the great things that my dad did was he has to go play sports. He has to, you know what I'm saying? We got this Ridgeway last name. He has to do something. And so that's kind of where the reason why I jumped into sports.
It is a good last name.
I was
Exactly,
gonna say,
right?
they called me soft because I was chubby. But they're like, that kid's soft.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah. He looks soft. Yeah.
Pillsbury.
Right.
Some say it still does. But
Yeah.
hey, you know what?
I'm thicker than a Snickers.
Go fix yourself.
Yeah. I'm
Hey,
trying.
is that what
I'm fasting right now.
Yeah. Intermittent? Love it.
I will.
We have a lot in common.
I like
I
it.
know.
By the
We're
way.
going to.
Yeah.
I eventually will.
I'm fasting right now.
when I sleep.
Intermittent? I'll get to it. Not right now, I
Just
guess.
simply because we're doing this podcast. And
I can't eat right now, so I'm drinking my
as
calories.
soon as we're done.
Yeah.
And so basketball came in super early then.
Super early, pretty early. And it came in to kind of toughen me up a little bit. But I gravitated towards it. All my the frustration of what was going on outside of the court, not having a father and all that stuff, and just frustration, kind of led to some of my success because that's where I was able to kind of be wild,
Right.
throw elbows, be physical type thing. And some things clicked for me basketball wise at the right times. And yeah, I had a really good high school career, got recruited to play some, big universities. I chose UAA because I just wanted to stay back, help my mom, and be there to help my little brother out, just family dynamics.
One of the biggest universities, some might say.
Yeah, one of the biggest. That is
Yeah.
correct.
In the biggest state.
In the biggest state, that's right.
So there's ways to look at it positively. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's awesome. And so you're saying you grew up a single mother raising how many kids?
So she was raising 3, but then
even raising one.
Yeah,
it's
raising,
just crazy.
raising 3 full time all the time. And then some of my siblings would come up and visit for long periods of time and whatnot. And then we adopted one of my sisters. So yeah.
Dang.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
I can't even imagine one.
Dude, it's crazy. I was doing the math, right? The economy the way it is, it's just I can't fathom or how you can raise.
Yeah.
But, and the economy hasn't changed. It's changed a lot. But
Sure.
back then, $100 can go a long way compared to now. So I look at these single moms now, and I'm like, what? How are you doing
Yeah,
this?
how
do you do?
I always think that too. I'm like, 1 job, 2 jobs, 3 jobs.
For real.
I met a lady, she had 3 jobs because just to make ends meet. And I was just like, how?
Yep.
Why?
Yep.
I'm tired at 1 day of work.
Right?
It's like,
And
I
it
don't
was
understand.
4 hours.
Not even, dude.
4-hour shift.
I don't work 4 hours a day. Are you
not
kidding
straight.
me?
A lot of it was emails.
Yeah. I'm not crazy. Yeah, that's
I don't go wild.
yeah. And I mean this kind of off on the side, but being like a dad now, or or being married, I'm just like, I have zero idea how somebody can do that.
Oh my goodness.
Because I'm like, I'm tired. And if I'm tired, my wife and I, we have a talk like one of us kind of needs to help out a little bit more because I'm like exhausted or she's exhausted.
Good for you. You guys actually have that talk?
We do all the time.
Yeah, I'm just trying to like hide under the bed, hoping that she doesn't come look for me.
Honey, I got stomach troubles. I'm going to be in the bathroom for about 6 hours. Yeah. Yeah.
One more minute.
Yeah, I'm almost done. We're out of toilet paper. But then I think like erase her and have to be responsible for a kid 24 hours.
I don't even want to think about that. It's crazy.
Because then you can't, being a single parent, it would be really hard to afford daycare or whatever. Man. And so it's like, I can't even, I feel so blessed and so lucky that like I'm in the situation I am right now. But like whenever I hear somebody who's a single parent, I have a whole new outlook on it than when I did maybe when I was younger, more immature. I'm like, oh yeah, you're just, and I hear that pretty commonly with kids, like, oh, his parents are divorced or whatever. That's fine. Marriages sometimes don't work out, but I'm like, that's probably pretty tough for that parent, whoever's watching you most of the time. And it's like a whole different outlook on it now.
Yeah.
And so that brings you to college, and you kind of got in. You had a pretty good career at UAA in basketball. And what'd you major in? What did
major in sociology? You know how I picked that?
Least amount of.
I would be surprised if he actually knew.
I was going to get
I do know this.
He's actually saying no.
I don't really know you, but I do know this.
Well, that's a common.
One of my teammates. So it was coming time where you had to pick what you're majoring in, right? One of my teammates was like, "Oh, I'm majoring in sociology." I was like,
"What the heck?
What is that?" Yeah. He was like, study society. You go hang out with people, chill with kids and whatnot. Go to school, talk. And I was like, "Sounds good." And I just wrote it down.
And just did it.
And it worked out in the long run. But yeah, if I could go back, I would have made some changes.
Just tell the people who listening who. I mean, I know what sociology is, but these people might not know. Like, talk to them.
The dummies that listen probably don't know. But I clearly do.
I definitely know what sociology is.
And you're not going to Google whatever I tell you. You're going to take my word for it. Study of society. How society functions, all of that. That's what I got out of it. Don't ask me anything beyond that.
For sure.
So,
and it goes into some deep stuff that's super interesting. I think that everybody is interested in some way, shape, or form, whether it's sociology or not.
Yeah.
Like it's just one of those catch-alls. Like
teaches you how to think.
Yeah.
Right? Like see something and you're just thinking it.
Like economics in a way.
Exactly,
There's a huge, it's an umbrella. Yeah. And so you did that, did your 4 years, graduated?
Graduated.
And then was that when basketball, you're like, I'm a pro, or how did you...
Yeah, so I had some opportunities to play pro, except for, so during the time of playing college ball, I got married, had a daughter with my wife. And so I'm like, things are like, basketball isn't as fun or as important as it was before.
Sure.
Right? And then when you're married,
it's different.
And you're in that environment, it's like not the healthiest thing for anything. Right? And so it was time for me to kind of move on that. And so I ended up moving on from basketball, and that's when I made the decision like, I'm good.
Was that hard to like be pursuing basketball for so long and be in it? Like I would imagine, I mean, I've definitely, I was
pursued basketball as well.
Yeah, 100%.
I did. Yeah. I actually, soccer was my thing.
Yeah.
I pursued soccer, and then it got like, I moved up to Alaska and it got yanked away from me. And I was like, this is like what I wanted to go to college, being a soccer player. But I was actually thinking music, and it was like, after 10 years of pursuing music, I was like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, and like, it was kind of like a tough part to come to realize and be like, who am I without like this pursuit of music? But it took some time. So like, was that hard? Like kind of like going from like basketball to wife.
Yeah.
Basically and child, like focus.
Yeah. It was hard. I was still, it was hard, but I didn't fall off like that because it was so ingrained into me. My wife would be like, where are you going? I was like, I have to go to the gym. It's 5 a.m. And she's like, you don't even play. Anyway, so I'd still go to the gym, still do workouts, still run. I was still in really good shape until I tore my ACL. I'm still in really good shape, but it just never, it never left even after I was done, like the competitive part, like playing in the games, the practice, all that stuff, but that never left. And then also I had jobs that were more team-like. And so it made up from like the competitiveness.
Sure.
Literally,
exactly.
So literally, the Friday night, I played my last game against Seattle Pacific University down there. That Monday, I started working at McLaughlin Youth Center as a counselor. And the way that McLaughlin set up, like it's a team, right? So big guys, a lot of ex-athletes, just some ex-NFL players, some people who just, played hockey, played soccer, all that stuff. And so all those guys are still working in a company like that, and it still brings like somewhat of the locker room aspect to the job. And so I almost felt like it was like a perfect pivot, perfect transition.
That's cool.
And so I didn't miss it as much as probably the next guy would have in my situation.
Yeah, you didn't go to like a desk job immediately.
Right. At McLaughlin, do they have a soft section for guys that can come in that never made it in sports, like for the security?
Right?
Just
is
curious.
Is that a serious question?
No, I just wonder if that's on the application.
No,
are
but
you
it's definitely
tough? Soft.
literally, I've hired people. Check. So you're staring at him like, I don't care what comes out of this guy's mouth, he's getting hired. It's like, we're just writing it down.
Yeah. Because I figure you probably that is a common theme is when you work in these youth centers, you not only have to be willing to work with kids that are up to no good for the most part, but you have to be kind of big enough to handle yourself.
You got to take punches. You're going to get punched. You're going to get hit.
I've heard it. It's I mean, when you look at youth centers and stuff like that, you're kind of like, those kids are, whatever. But I mean, or weak because they're kids. Nope. But at the same time, these kids are up to 17 that are probably
19. So
19.
This kid's 19 years old.
Holy hell!
You want me to go and where?
Damn.
Yeah. So I had my share of hospital visits and all that stuff. Yeah.
And so you were doing that when you were how old?
So when I was 23. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you got married actually when you were still in college.
Yep.
What was that like? If you told me I was going to get married in college, we both thought
I just got married.
Yeah. Right.
I'm 33.
Yeah. Yeah. I got married at 30.
Yeah.
32.
We both, we talked about this slightly offline, but like grew up in the church. We were 1,000% sure we would be married probably by freshman, sophomore year of college.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, get that Mrs. degree kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
This is something that I grew up with was if I don't get married by 24, I don't know if I'll ever.
You're a loser. You're just. It's just not for you.
I was like,
God didn't choose you.
Exactly. So 23 hit, and I was still believing that. I was like, damn, it's next year.
Oh my God,
it's next year. Yeah. I better find
your
someone.
Your standards are just low. You're like, hey, come here. What's your name?
Yeah. Do you want to get married? No? Okay. Next.
Get out of here.
Yeah. So, I mean, like,
lower standards.
Right. Us thinking that because, like, I feel like 30 was a good age for me to get married because I was like, I have lived some life and I feel like now I'm ready to settle down to some extent or be able to be comfortably able to settle down in some regards. So, like, walk me through what that was like. You guys date through college or?
Yeah, so we're dating in college and she got pregnant, right? So that was my sophomore year. So I actually decided to sit out after my sophomore year.
Oh.
So that's what helped.
Oh.
Right.
So I played freshman, sophomore year. My girlfriend, my wife now, is at the time, she gets pregnant. So we decide I'm going to sit out and I'm going to work. And that's what helped because completely separated from the whole environment of college and the team and all that stuff.
Right.
We're staying together, we're growing up, and I get back and I'm like, I'm already started on this foundation down this road.
Right.
It's hard to go back over here. And so after I came back, never lived like in a dorm again. And so, and UAA is not really like a college campus.
Right.
And so, it was easy to kind of separate myself from that. And so I'm sure it made it easier being at UAA than it would at any of these other schools that had big campuses. But
yeah, because that is like you're saying. I would think that'd be hard being like on a basketball team. You guys want to go party, hang out with all these groups and stuff, and then all of a sudden, Mr. Stud has a girlfriend that's pregnant now. And so you kind of have to pick, do I want to be with the boys or do I want to build this relationship with my girlfriend and as eventually the mother of my child.
Right.
And so I could totally see that with UAA campus because for people that don't know UAA, I mean, it's basically in the town. We do have dorms and stuff, but a lot of people live off campus and live at home or live in different places. So it's not quite that college setting where you're out in the middle of, somewhere that's just a college, just college people around. And so I could see like that's where the line in the road is for athletics is, do I want to be a good husband, dad, or do I want to continue to chase sports?
Yeah.
And the beauty of that, I think, is that most people come into is you can use that same drive that you're using towards basketball towards something else.
Yep.
And like that's kind of what took me forever to realize that like, oh, I wasn't going to be good at this, but I can kind of use that same energy and same, on something else.
Yep.
And I think that's why entrepreneurship is so attractive to so many people.
Exactly.
Because you use a lot of the same foundations as sports and various other things that you can use towards that.
Mm-hmm.
And so you guys are, after college, you have a child now, and you're working at McLaughlin.
Yep.
When did the entrepreneur stuff kind of come into play?
Yeah, so I'm working at McLaughlin. I came after probably about 6-7 years after McLaughlin. So I'm working at McLaughlin, and this whole time I've always been an entrepreneur. Like whether it's mowing lawns growing up, or working kids out for extra money on the side. Like I've always tried to figure out ways to make money on the side and kind of do my own thing. Working at McLaughlin, the administration and things are crazy, right? I went to the hospital I think 4 times in a span of a couple of weeks. Like it was crazy. It was the tone the unit I was working on, it was high tone, which means like it could just, you're just sitting around in a situation and circumstances where things could just pop off at any minute. And it's a bunch of gang kids who hate each other. So it's just middle of fights and riots and stuff like that. I have no issues with any of the kids. Matter of fact, they'll find me on Facebook afterwards. And even if they did hit me or something like that, after I get back, they're like, yo, Mr. Ridgeway, my bad. And I was like, yo, it's good. We just talk it out. But I got back from the hospital one time, went back to the unit, and the kids that I had, pretty much hit me and put me in the hospital, the reason I was there, they were out playing video games and eating candy. There's like no accountability for their actions at all whatsoever. And this is like the weird time where McLaughlin was like trying to figure out how to hold kids accountable without,
repercussions.
Without trying to cause further trauma and all that, So it was just kind of weird time all around in like the mental health space.
Oh, I would not have even thought about that.
Yeah.
I would have been like, my anger would have gotten the best of me and just been like,
put him in the box.
Mr. Ridgeway. Let's go. Kicking the door down.
You took your shirt off? Like it's just at the review board.
Who's the soft guy in the back? We're not scared of him. We're not scared of him.
Run anywhere.
Yeah. We're coming for you. Oh my God. Lonnie, you got this one. I got to sit. Dude. I need a breather.
Seriously.
That would be me.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I need a Snickers.
You're not you.
Yeah.
Go fix yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to change in a second.
But during this time too, also, this population, I love working with criminal kids, right?
Okay.
But this is a time where like the mental health and, the kids who have like, the issues when their parents are using drugs while they were in the womb. So those issues start coming out. And so those are not necessarily criminal kids. Those are more like mental health kids. Things, there's just holes in brains that have nothing to do with, the way that they chose. So anyways, the first job that I saw that I was qualified for was licensing, right, for the state of Alaska.
Sure.
So I go into assisted living homes and I do inspections, investigations, and all that stuff. So I applied for it, got it, spent a couple years there, and I was like, the providers are making a lot of money and they are providing poor care. If I can figure this business thing out in this industry, I think I can do really well. And so after that, I just started to kind of look at my direction going that way in all my entrepreneur efforts, and just kind of putting the pieces together. And so I left that job and opened up my first assisted living home. That's been going well. And then I opened up a second one. And so now I have 2 licensed assisted living home group homes.
Hold up.
That's where we're going to live.
Yeah, I got you. So. I got a spot.
Yeah.
It is interesting. I didn't know this until like a few years ago. We like shot a TV show in one of the assisted living houses.
Yeah.
And it was like not great.
No. Oh my goodness.
Not great.
Yeah.
And like, the caretaker, he could barely speak English. And there was all English speaking people that I saw that were in the home. And so it was just like, this feels weird. So you saw this problem, and that's what a good entrepreneur does. Right. It's like, I see a problem, I can solve it.
Yeah.
So you did this, but like, I could be like, that's a problem, but like, I don't want to fix that.
Yeah.
I'm not like, whatever, like this needs to happen. Someone else will do it.
Yeah.
Why you? Why? And then how did you even go about doing your first assisted living home?
So it's crazy. So while working at licensing, the whole time, like everywhere, you're an entrepreneur. You just figured it out, right? So the whole time I'm working there, I'm like, what can I learn so I can do my own practice one day? Consulting, all that stuff. So I'm looking at the statutes, regulations, learning how to read them, learning how to write them, policies, procedures, learning how to walk through people through applications. And so after I decided that I am going to stop with licensing, I decided, you know what, I'm going to open up a consulting practice. And so I did that for 2 years to save up the money. And then after the 2 years, after doing consulting and actually working at a different job full time, then I opened up my assisted living. So throughout that whole entire time, you know, everybody's going to work and they're just like trying to figure out how to make it through the day. I'm literally like, oh man, I am about to wreck it in this industry. I'm learning every single day, learning how to talk to the people, learning who to talk to, learning where they're coming from, where they get the employees from, where they're learning to get the staff from, all the clients, all that stuff.
So you're finding all this stuff about, one of the things that I'm curious, about entrepreneurship too, is like a lot of people have to have like the passion that drives them.
Yeah.
What drove you about this specific
100%,
thing?
this sounds cheesy. I actually love people, right?
Yeah.
And so and that's the reason what kept me at McLaughlin so long is because I love the kids there and I'm seeing how they're getting, mistreated and all this, going through the court system and all that stuff. Working at licensing, like I'm seeing sometimes some of the same kids that were at McLaughlin go through the system and now they're, getting services, but they're just getting mistreated. Like, the staff aren't treating them well. They're not getting fed like they should be. And like, it's just ugly. And so I was like, I have a heart for people, right? So whatever I'm doing, whether it's coaching, all that, I just look to how I can serve the people there.
Where do you think that comes from? Like your love for people?
I think it's my mom growing up. Yeah.
Moms do that.
Yeah,
Moms do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like she instilled love like for people onto you.
Yeah,
Showed a lot of grace and
always help.
mercy.
And we weren't the brokest at all, right? But we still, it's not necessarily like we struggled.
Mm-hmm.
And we did struggle at some points, but my mom was always sharing food, always just helping the next person out. I remember people that were homeless, like staying in our house, like living there for a little bit. And our home was an open door. She had friends come over. We had, people staying with us. My sister, who's my sister, it started where she needed a place to stay. And it just turned into her becoming like my sister. I don't even mention that she's not my blood. She's my sister. And so like just having that, just always serving people, always figuring out this person needs to be loved. How can we do it? I think that's always stayed with me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like a lot of people always think of like mothers being the nurturer, the lover. Like, did you
white
have to be,
moms or black moms?
I don't. Well, I was gonna say, did she had to wear both hats too?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like that's the other part about being a single parent that's so hard is because like if one parent's kind of being the meanie, you can run to the other one and be they're being and so when you got to wear both hats, I feel like that's tough. What was that like with a mom that was probably loving but also probably very strict, or the disciplinarian?
I can honestly say this. So when my dad went to jail, he's gone my whole high school career, pretty much he's in jail, right?
Okay.
I remember having this thought, like, I want to make it so easy on my mom that she's not going to ever have to tell me to do anything. And like, I could probably count on, and I was actually talking to kids about this earlier today. And it was like, I remember when I had this thought, it wasn't anything that like, it wasn't like I was like mature like this growing up. I just remember thinking like, I didn't want to put any more burden on her.
Right.
So I didn't. So I can remember probably less than a handful of times, literally on one hand, that I came home late after curfew. I never snuck out. I was like the perfect kid for her.
Really?
Like she never had to worry about me whatsoever.
Hot damn! I never once thought about that for my mom. I never once was like, I got to be nice to her.
We never thought.
See, Rick,
and
what
Carol,
Yeah.
This is what you raised.
They know I was a little shit.
Yeah.
Well, oh my god, I was awful.
Hearing you say that is like weird to me because I feel like kids naturally want to push boundaries constantly.
Yeah.
And I think that like my stepson's 13 and I'm always thinking like, what if he thought like that?
Yeah.
Like, what if he thought like, let me make my parents' life as easy as possible? But I couldn't fathom him thinking that thought.
Right.
Because so you were in high school when you kind of had this like epiphany.
14 years
Wow.
old. My dad had just got arrested. His name picture was just on the news. 5 o'clock news, Christmas morning. And I remember thinking, like, I literally thought that thought. And I also thought, like, I have my little brother, my little nieces and nephews, and my little cousins. I want to be like a good male role model.
Yeah,
so I started making like these adjustments of like goal setting, all that stuff. And like, and this is the thing. So people ask me, like, how in the world were you thinking like that at 14, 15 years old? And this is where like the faith thing comes in for me. Just because like I didn't program my mind to think like that. It just happened. And I just started thinking like that. Like, there's nothing that I did myself to go and start thinking that direction. I just started thinking that direction. I just started making those adjustments in my life and my mind.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I would imagine you saw a lot of things growing up that you were just like, I don't want this to happen to me, and I don't want this to happen to the people around me. Because I'm always, with sociology, you're kind of looking at people and like how that affects different things, and psychology comes into that too, because I'm always looking at people, what they do right, and I want to do that more, and I look at people, what they do wrong, and I'm like, should I do that, or should I? And hopefully it's not do that. But like,
should I? Or
well, you never know. You know, sometimes thinking outside the box is looked at as weird or wrong, and that's exactly what you should do. So, I mean, kudos to you for thinking even that, because I don't even know if that crosses my mind now. Like, I look at my parents and I apologize to them constantly for how I was as a child, because I'm always like, now I know what you guys were doing.
Another foot. You're
like, and I'm just like, I am so sorry that I wasn't thoughtful or grateful for everything you guys did, and so it's like I almost have this negative feeling that I'm like, I need to make up for how I was as a kid, even though I wasn't even what you would consider bad.
And I should say this, I'm sure there's different times where I was like ungrateful, just
for
like
sure,
just a
naturally
pain. Yeah, but
even now we're still like that.
I mean, even you're human, you know. So I get that.
That is,
but you weren't perfect the whole time.
No,
wow, fuck,
right? That's what I'm saying. I tell my wife that all the time. Like, I'm not perfect.
Yeah, so all the time. Yeah. So what was so we got to
entrepreneurship.
Yep, after McLaughlin,
your
licensing,
first assisted living home, your second assisted living home. So the first one does so well that you're like, all right, we got to do it
again.
So you had a template.
So I'm a goal setter. So I had it written down on paper what like my business looks like in 10 years. I can show you after on my phone what my business looks like in 10 years.
Yes.
The umbrella, all that stuff, right? Have that written down. And
it's not journaling. It's not journaling.
Goal setting.
Okay. And it's journaling. You're journaling. Yeah.
I love
fix
it.
yourself.
Yeah. Forget journaling.
We have a podcast that was just the two of us, and I was talking about like how I love journaling and goal setting.
Yeah.
And so we talk about those two things.
I take his journal and I rip it up right on the podcast. Start a new one.
Yeah.
Go fix yourself.
Yeah. So, but I knew, like, when I picked the industry, I was like, okay, I'm going to figure this out and being here long term. So I kind of put together this plan and what it's going to look like 10 years down the line. And so I know I was going to have multiple homes and kind of a structure into that. Always have what it would look like to own a business and what, employee meetings would look like. I always thought about those things. Wrote things that were like about running a business. Always wrote them down. And so when I was opening up the first one, it was just like checking off the box that I already put down. Like, I already wrote this down. I knew this was going to happen. When I opened the second one, same thing. I knew this was going to happen. Now, in between the time, there was like some frustrations that you figure out in business, like some hurdles. But yeah, so open up one. I worked there 24/7 for the first couple months, figuring it out, figuring the paperwork out.
With the wife.
With the wife, yep. My wife is fully on board. She, I only had to work pretty much 24/7, and she helped me too for the first 3 months-ish. And then once I saved up some money from the income coming in, and I was able to hire some employees. And yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's dedication right there.
Yeah, dedication. I have a great wife though. She's an RN, and so like she's helpful in those areas.
Nurse with a purse.
Nice.
There you go. Nurse with a purse.
God, they're good to have.
Sugar?
I got one of those.
It's not a sugar daddy. What is it?
Sugar mama?
Sugar mama.
Yeah, sugar mama. Nurse with a purse. That's what I was like.
I like that
yeah.
though. That's good.
Yeah. That's clever.
Okay, so you do your first one. I love the visualizing, because like that's something I'm like, you're visualizing how the meetings are going to go.
Yep.
You're writing that down. I think that's like one thing that we've talked about is like visualizing can be very helpful.
Yeah.
It's like, see what you want. And if you can't really if you struggle to visualize it, you write it down.
Yeah.
And you were doing both. And I think that's amazing. And that like you actually saw it come to fruition. So you start your first one, you start your second one, and then kind of like, are they on autopilot now? Are you able to like take a step back and kind of like enjoy the hardship of your labor?
I work because I want to in them. So so I have the 2 assisted living homes, and I have what's called day hab, and it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys ever heard that term before, but day hab essentially like I can take them out one-on-one or in groups, and I get to bill for just them specifically for that, right?
Okay.
And so there's just kind of different layers to
Sure.
it. And so I choose to do day hab. And so some of the clients that I really connect with, I kind of take them out, go bowling and stuff like that, help them get their bank account set up, go out to eat, take them out to jobs. Just help them figure out life and do their everyday life. They're meeting their goals. That's what's required. But in between there, we're allowed to have a lot of fun and just kind of live.
For sure.
So that's what you're kind of doing on a day-to-day basis nowadays?
Yeah. So that, and then I'm also building my consulting business a little bit more, doing videos and that and whatnot. So
Is that coming with the speaking gigs too, or is that a
no, so
different?
that's separate.
Gee,
It's
okay.
different. Yeah.
How many
Slow
hours,
down, Lonnie.
Yeah.
Lonnie? How
You're
many
making
hours
us
in a
all-
day do you have?
Yeah, it's like you're
right.
making us all look bad, man.
Yeah. No. So the consulting stuff is I figured out. So when I left licensing, before I started the group homes and assisted living homes, how to get other people set up, starting from ground A. So if you were to come to me saying, I want to start an assisted living home, I can take you from A to Z until you're set up to take in Medicaid and bill Medicaid.
Oh,
so I can take you through that whole process. And so I just figured out a way to write it down on paper, a kind of a packet to give people where it's literally like they're just doing signatures and saying, oh yeah, I can do this in my business, or I can incorporate this, and they can hand it in, and it's just kind of a wait time. So I just rinse and repeat that, and that's how I started doing consulting stuff.
That's
Nice.
cool.
So I'm continually building that part of the business up, and so that's what I'm really putting a lot of my focus.
So you have the assisted living
Mm-hmm.
and the day hab,
Yep.
and then you have your consulting,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have coaching.
Yep.
Almost.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I coach high
So-
school
Okay.
sports. Yeah.
Oh, so I didn't even. I was thinking more like life coaching.
No.
So you coach high school sports, and then you have the speaking.
Yeah.
Which I would say like that's coaching too.
Right.
In its own way, man. Yeah. Where like Kyle's right. Where do you find the time? How many hours in a day? Do you have a time machine?
I don't have a time machine.
Not yet.
So
Not
what's
yet.
like
working on that though?
Yeah.
What's
What's
next
your-
business?
Yeah, next one.
Yeah.
But I'm curious with all these things going on, and then you're also saying like you're taking people to job interviews and all this stuff. Like, what does your routine look like?
Yeah. So usually during the day, I work at the assisted living homes doing day hab stuff, anywhere from like 9 a.m., 8 a.m. to about 1. Right. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm
Okay.
for the most part, picking them up, taking them around, doing what they need to do. In the morning I try to do this. This is not every single day, but from about 6 until about like 8, usually 2 hours ish. So between 6 and 9. So maybe it's 6 to 8, 7 to 9, whatever. I am doing kind of like emails and stuff like that. Right.
Gotcha.
And then on Mondays and Fridays, it's purely just consulting stuff. So I'm working on my consulting stuff.
Nice. Okay.
And so I have my weeks spread out like that. So Monday, Fridays, consulting. I might have some meetings here and there. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, the day hab is the living stuff. All while every single morning from like 6:30 try to 8:30, like I said, 2 hours is emails, contacts, all that stuff. And so that is until 1 o'clock Monday through Friday. That's usually what my day is. And then I don't sleep very well. And so I might be up just late at night. I'm unhealthy, right? That's the other thing too. Like I don't sleep. My sleeping habits
Oh, I
are
was
super
gonna say,
unhealthy.
I was like, dude, I'm looking at your
Yeah.
biceps. And I was like, you seem pretty healthy.
Yeah.
You seem pretty healthy.
I might stay up and pull a 24-hour all-nighter, just knocking out like paperwork, stuff like that. Like I'm just unhealthy in that regard. It's not consistent. And I don't want, nobody should be doing that.
Yeah, but it's funny. Like my head goes like, that's passion.
Yeah.
Like if like, honestly, the last time I stayed up 24 hours, like something that I was
dude,
You
doing,
just
don't
start
want to
seeing
know what he
stuff?
was doing.
That's what we were talking about before.
it was drugs.
Yeah.
It was
It was.
remember what? Yeah,
Hard drugs.
hookers and blow.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's just like when I stay up late, it's like I'm working on a video or something, and then like I'll be like, oh shit, I worked like till 6 a.m. But
Yeah.
that hasn't happened in a long time.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you gotta have that passion, that drive of wanting to do something. So that's really crazy that you're like, I'm just gonna stay up all night. Like
Yeah. That doesn't happen all the time, but like
Yeah.
once a week,
yeah,
it usually ends up happening that way.
once a week.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That is like all the time.
So how does your wife handle? And you have one kid?
Yeah, just
one kid.
Yep.
Okay, and so like, I mean, at some point, your wife is probably like, I mean, she's probably thankful for all you're doing, but is she like, why aren't you sleeping, Lonnie?
Yeah.
Like, or stuff like that. And being a nurse, she's probably concerned about that too. So, did you guys have this talk about like, babe, I need to do this for a period of time?
Tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Don't ever tell me
Get
how
out.
to. But I mean, imagine like you guys have discussions about like what's worth it in the short period of time to get things going. Most people understand if you're going to start a business or start some sort of venture, it requires a lot of front-loaded time and effort. Not saying that you'll never have to work again, but a lot of the work needs to be done up front. Like you had to learn a whole industry and all these things. So you said she's supportive and she helps you, but is she always on board, or is there sometimes where she's like, Lonnie, you got to slow down? Like,
no, she's always on board just because, I mean, if I'm
life insurance.
Right. If I'm not doing anything, I'm getting crazy. Like my mind goes, I'm a little bit crazy. So I've always been busy. Like I've always had multiple stuff. And as busy as my life like sounds, it doesn't sound busy to me. And then, we have our date nights and, usually about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm wrapping up for myself. It's just living home and consulting stuff unless it's something really pressing. And then, it's, coaching, hanging out with the family, we're going out to eat a lot. And so we do spend a lot of quality time. I just know like in this next like 5 years, I can grind out because I just have the energy to be able to do so. And the payoff 10 years from now is going to be way bigger than if I were not to do this stuff. And then I can do way more stuff then. So right now I'm able to just operate sometimes off no sleep. And I have a wife who like her love language is gifts, not even time spent. So it's like,
so that's great.
Yeah, here's a couple. Here you go.
Here, go shopping.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
God, that just bought me 2 days.
Yeah.
See you later.
That I will say that is something for people that are married. If you've never done the 5 love languages, is learn your spouse's love. As cheesy as that sounds, coming out of my mouth, it is so important to know like what your significant other responds to best. Yeah, because a lot of people like gifts is not mine. I sometimes I think it's touch or
touch me
time.
again.
Yeah, I say a lot of guys are touch, but like a lot of people are like, hey, like try to treat it like it's gifts for me, and I'm like, I don't need anything. Right. If anything, you've just made my life more hectic because now I have another thing that I got to get rid of at some point. But like it's important. So get that book, read it with your spouse, and figure it out because it's super valuable. Like you're saying, is like there's times where I won't say family comes second, but their needs sort of come a little less important at certain times during the day. Like if you're really grinding something out. And so how to make that right is to give them the love language that they need. And so it's just kind of weird to hear that because there's been times where my wife's like, and I know hers is pretty much time. And so I know sometimes I need to take a break and spend some time with her, date nights and stuff like that to kind of almost put a Band-Aid on the damage I've done with like working.
Just like,
it's like, you get into these modes.
It's a reset.
Yeah. And I mean, there's been times like when we're working on stuff or really passionate about projects and it just kind of almost feels like the most important thing going on at that moment. And you kind of have to step back and be like, Jesus, I got other people that are, in my life that care about me and want my time too. But I'm just so super jacked about this. And so, I mean, just taking a step back sometimes and realizing there's other people in the picture too. Yeah. So don't let your marriage go to shambles because you're passionate about something.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And so like I said, my schedule sounds crazy, but my Saturdays, I don't do anything.
Yeah, nice.
And so, I go play basketball early in the morning and then it's just whatever my wife wants to do, whether we're cleaning the house or hanging out. Like I don't schedule anything on Saturdays.
Sweet.
And so that's been really consistent. And so, my schedule looks crazy during the week, but it's a routine that works for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then what's Sunday?
Sunday is so my wife's a nurse, so she works 3/12s, and so she works Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So Sunday morning, it's usually me and my daughter's day. So we'll go to church. That's when we record our podcast after we get back, kind of hang out, watch the movies, and kind of chill out. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Break into the podcast a little bit. So where did that all start?
Good segue, Kyle.
Yeah. That was seamless until you said it. You know?
Sorry, I just had to point out. I wanted everybody to know.
Everybody was along.
I was like, we do know what we're doing. To a point.
So without, or as much as or little, tell us about your daughter and how you got this going. Some people don't want to share a lot of details about their kids on podcasts. Completely cool.
Yeah.
Tell us what you
you're good.
want.
Yeah. I have a teenage daughter, and she is kind of like, she's a lot of my world, right? The reason why I probably didn't make some stupid decisions when I was younger and back in my college days, you know, when you get those text messages or opportunities to go off with the boys or whatever.
Sure.
If it wasn't my wife, it was my daughter. The reason why I did not, you know, go down those routes. And so I always envisioned what a healthy relationship would look like with a kid, right? So my dad was, when he was there, perfect, great. But he just wasn't there that consistent. And so I didn't really have so I just knew when I have a kid, how it's going to be, we're going to have the best relationship. I'm going to spend the most time. I'm going to be talking to them and having great conversations because I would run into so many adults, or I would talk to so many kids, even when I was younger, who they couldn't talk to their parents about anything at all. Like their parents was here about what was going on in their life, and they're doing way this, and their parents have no idea what's going on in that section. And I think every kid, there's some extent of that where you try to hide it from your parents, but I wanted to have an open book. So from when she was young, I'd start talking to her about things, anything. And so this is how the podcast was brought up. I wanted, a lot of parents were like, man, you guys have a great relationship. I was like, you know what, we do. And they just asked me, so what are you doing? And so I was like, okay, if we can just record some of the conversations that we have, one, it would help parents have a platform to be able to, you don't know how to talk to your kids about sex and boys and drugs and George Floyd, all this stuff that's going on in the world. How in the world do you do that? Have a conversation with the kid. And so we have those conversations, we record them and give parents content and opportunities and platforms to be able to speak with their kids. So
that's really freaking awesome.
Yeah. So we started and it goes deeper than that too. So we started when she's in 7th grade, right? 7th, 8th, 9th. And I'm going to continue to go as long as she wants to. But the deeper part to this is I can't remember I'm losing the sound of my dad's voice. I'm losing it. If I were to hear a voice that sounded just like him and he said my name, I'd recognize it. But I'm losing it, being able to hear it.
Sure.
And so nowadays with the podcast and all that stuff, God forbid if I go early, there's 60 something episodes of conversations that my daughter has with me. Right.
Oh, that's so nice.
And then, so my daughter wasn't old enough to enjoy a conversation with my dad. For whatever reason, if something should happen to me, if I have grandkids or whatnot, they can always hear my voice, be like, oh, yo, Papa Lonnie was crazy. He was wild. So they could hear all this stuff. And so
he wasn't sleeping.
Yeah, he was crazy. So all these different ways, I'm trying to take advantage of putting myself out there, more so for my family too.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like a time machine.
Time capsule
exactly.
You'll always have is because we've talked about that several times because both of us have a fair amount of videos. And now, we have 100
on
plus.
YouTube.
Dude, that's
on YouTube.
Let's just make sure.
Well, yeah. What other
Pornhub
video?
or OnlyFans.
Those videos got flagged.
YouTube.
Soft tube.
All the tubes.
That's probably the worst website I could have said. But it's important because that's so hard to pivot into something sentimental. Right.
I was just
but
you know where my mind just went? I was like, I wonder if that domain name is available.
Soft
Carol?
Yeah. Rick and Carol, don't look that up. Don't look any website up that we've just
said.
said.
Search better be on.
Yeah.
You too.
But
crazy.
I mean, in a real way, there is so much content of us that we've put up that I do feel good that if like you're saying, if you went early for some reason, your kids, your wife, your family would have something to kind of always visually, audibly remember you by, or be able to pull up if they wanted to rekindle what it was like to talk to you or hear your voice. And that's really powerful because, as family passes away, friends and stuff like that, you always regret not spending more time or having more conversations with them. And then you never want to forget what their face looks like and stuff. And all those things, unfortunately, with the human brain seem to fade away over time.
Yeah.
And so it's always nice to be able to pull that stuff back up, and God forbid the internet ever vanishes. But
I got hard drives.
Yeah, if that doesn't happen,
that's what I do. I
back
back
it
it on a
all
hard
up.
drive, going safety to
So what's the
I do keep like voicemail like from my family.
Yeah.
Only from like my friends and family, and everything else I delete. But like just because of that reason.
Right.
Because it's like, you
never know.
Exactly.
What if?
Exactly.
So remember that. Save your voicemails.
And it's like my kid will be like, listen to our podcast and be like, man, my dad was a piece of shit.
Yeah, he was the worst guy ever. So like with your daughter, what is it? I mean, does she think it's cool? Like, is it cool to talk to your dad on like a podcast? Is she getting some street cred from kids?
Yeah. So, I'm still the cool dad for right now.
To her or to her friends?
Both.
Oh,
but
nice.
I invest a lot of time and a lot of money.
Right.
Check
to
and
make
check.
sure.
Exactly, right? So we make our house like the revolving door. Her friends are coming over. They'll spend the night. There'll be 7 or 8 friends in her room staying the night. We'll buy pizza. Like I want that, right? Because I'd rather them
be at your house kind of idea.
I know where they are. I know what they're doing. At least if they're in closed doors. There's only so much that can be happening, right?
Right.
And then I go to schools and I speak at schools. So I spoke at her school. And all the kids like recognize me from it, and like she gets a little bit of cred from that. They're like, "Yo, your dad is so cool!" Like, and then you got a podcast. You're on a podcast, Brooklyn.
You got
like,
your
you
own
just do my podcast. You know what I'm saying? It's not that big of a deal. Like
Sundays, you guys want to tune in?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
So she gets a little bit of cred for it. She likes it. So yeah, I'm hoping that she continues to have fun with it. But also, like, I'm such an entrepreneur. She has no idea. Like, she is making a business plan for herself. Like, she's learning how to do agendas. She's learning how to run meetings. She's learning how to do the editing, like all that stuff. And so in this, she doesn't even understand. She has like skills. And so when, fast forward in the way that, she is and her personality and the way that this world is, she has a resume of 60 different episodes when she was younger that anybody can tap into and be like, oh, she's actually good on camera or on a microphone. She can actually speak well for herself.
So you're filming these too?
I'm not filming them yet.
Yeah.
So that's our next step. So
it's
like, I'm
a real
looking,
pain.
Yeah.
That's a real pain.
Well, actually, it took us, because we just started doing it, I don't know, I would say like
30s.
15 episodes ago?
Yeah.
20 episodes ago? And so it took us forever to like figure out like what's a good, like we were researching. And so finally we were just like, here it is.
You got to do it.
Keep
Just
it simple.
Put it up there.
Yeah. So now it's like kind of like it's just another
Became a
avenue.
habit.
Yeah.
So we fixed ourselves.
Yeah, there you go.
We did.
Love it.
As we say.
I think that's super cool to first off, the podcast idea is amazing because I think for me, not being a dad, I think that's like a very good resource to have. Like, holy shit, I gotta have this kind of talk, or like current events. you know?
Exactly. Yep.
Like you mentioned George Floyd, and like, how do you talk to your son or your daughter about this? Like, well, why are people looting? Or why why is this happening? Why are people protesting?
Why did people get killed?
Or like, why are people shooting other people?
Yep.
And it's like, oh,
those are all the topics that are on our podcast.
I
like all
love
those,
that because those are like the talks that like I feel like not just like dad and kid need to have, but like humanity. I think that's like you're opening that up not just to like families, but other people as well, and be like, oh, that's a really interesting way of looking at that or really thinking about that. And I just think that's a really cool idea.
That. Yeah.
And so absolutely, yeah, of course. So what is it called again? So for the people.
Yeah, it's called Dad Stop Podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts, Amazon,
Spotify,
Google, Spotify.
So really anything, all the podcasts,
mainly all
the
of them.
platforms. Okay.
Well, how do you handle like a topic? Because I run into this all the time, and my stepson hates it that I always seem to be correct because I very rarely talk about things that I don't know the answer to. And so how do you talk to your daughter who's probably asking you questions that you don't know, but at the same time as a parent, you don't want to seem ignorant or not knowledgeable on a topic. So when they're like, why did this happen? Are you comfortable saying like, I don't know?
Yeah, let's Google it.
Okay. So you kind of go down it together because that's always like, I have a problem with that. Not with what you're doing, but like the idea of like being caught off. I have a problem with you, Lonnie. Jeez. I have a problem with like not knowing stuff because I always I think it's maybe some, I don't know, toxic
trauma.
masculinity or something where I'm just like, when you ask your dad a question, he should know the answer. And if he doesn't, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
And so I'm always like trying to find the answers to everything before I like tell him stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
how's that working out for you?
I'm probably not great at the end of the day because I don't think you want somebody that knows the answer to everything. Sometimes you need to go kind of down that road together or admit that you're flawed and you don't know. And it's like I have such a hard time letting go of that because I'm just like, I want to be the beacon of information that I can give you all the answers that you'd ever need as a child. And it's just like accepting that that's not realistic. Because at some point I'm going to lie to him.
Yeah,
so
right.
Like, yeah, it's like, I mean, you just can't know everything. There's not enough hours in the day to learn everything. So that's one thing, like, that's great. And it's a good piece of advice is like, don't be afraid to just say you don't know and maybe go look together.
Right.
Because that's a great opportunity to learn for both of you.
ADHD, for this whole time, I thought it was attention deficit hearing disorder.
Oh.
And so I said that to my daughter,
yeah.
and she was like, "No, it's not."
She's teaching
you.
She's
teaching you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Reverse.
So we're Googling it, but yeah.
You're going to need to go to page 2. It's back there on Google. I assure you.
It was on a podcast. She was like, wait, stop. That is not what it means. I was like, hey, 100% that's what it is.
Yeah.
And just,
You're like, edit that out.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's good.
Never
I think
happened.
kids need to know and see that you don't know everything because it makes you human, too.
Right.
More relatable.
For
That's
sure.
Just
Yeah, it's just the dynamic of
How old's your son?
13.
Okay.
And so it's in that age where he feels like he knows
Oh,
everything.
yeah. He's testing you, too.
Right, and
I was
that's
gonna
what
say,
I
he's
also
trying to stump you, probably.
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
feel like is because I'm always like, oh, he's trying to trick me.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I'm going to beat you up. No.
Go to your room.
yeah, you're grounded.
You like your Xbox?
Yeah,
Not anymore.
see you later.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it is that feeling of,
Oh, yeah.
you know, it's like, well, why don't you know this? And I'm like, Jesus, kid, I'm like, I'm busy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to look this
Interesting.
up. So, I mean, that's awesome because I think everybody wants great relationship with your kids.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's a lot of parents that set out to have a bad relationship.
Yeah.
Whether that happens or not is choices you make and kind of over time what happens. But, you know, setting out to have a really solid relationship that's almost the second most important relationship that you have with people is, I think, your wife first and then your kids, hopefully, right? Yeah, I mean, that's what we all set out for, but it is hard being a parent.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're dealing with that with a teenager because there's a lot of questions that probably are on your mind about what's going to happen the next high school and college because as a dad of a daughter, your mind goes a million places with protecting your daughter no matter what.
Yeah.
And so how do you handle that where you're like, you know you have to let your sweet little daughter experience the world, but you probably don't want to in some ways.
I do a bad job at that. I think what we both do is we parent by participation and not observation. And if you participate, you're always in the mix. Maybe you're just being stupid, but you're always there. We moved to a certain part of town because we wanted her to go to a high school, right? And then I went to that high school and I was like, I'm going to start coaching girls basketball here. How do I get in? And so before my daughter she's about to be a high school freshman.
Okay.
But before I started coaching girls basketball at that high school because I knew she would be there and be part of the team.
Gotcha.
And so what I did was I was like, okay, here's where we're going to be at. I need to go here before she gets here. And so I'm already naturally here. I have the natural, relationships with, the guys playing basketball, the coaches, the teachers, the principals. I can walk the school halls and everybody knows me. I can get a phone call from a security guard if, she's out of line. And so that's what's being set up. Now, I'm really bad at like letting go.
For sure.
That's still me being a control freak with that. So when it comes to letting go, I just don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how. She's at the movies right now.
Right.
I freaked, I don't know. Everything is going in my head. And
I think that's everybody, there's like kind of the cliche saying of like, if you love something, let it go. Yeah, and I'm like, shut up.
Go fit
Okay. Yeah, like I hate hearing that
That's
word.
why we've named it the podcast.
Yeah.
I get it. You get it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, especially with my daughters, like she's 3.5. So I have a few years.
It goes by quick.
I agree, but I mean, it's like you try so many things that you're like just parenting in a nutshell. is so hard to manage all these different things, like taking care of your health, taking care of your family, starting businesses, doing a podcast, all these things. And it's like, some of those, some of those things are gonna kind of crumble, and some things are gonna succeed, and you hope the right ones do.
Yeah.
And so that I don't know how you do it, but
there's a couple questions that are coming to mind. First off, it's like you're doing a lot of things, and I feel like sometimes people, when they do a lot of things, like they can let the worst of them, get out, as in like burnout, or you're just like putting too much time over here. How do you manage all of the stuff that you're doing, balance it, but also come out the other side with good mental health?
Yeah.
Like what's your process, I guess, your mental health process?
No matter what, I will get in my 30 minutes of exercise every single day. That helps me release, whatever pressure, tension, stress, all that stuff. Like for me, it just works, whether it's, a home workout, push-ups, walking, whatever it is. And so I do that every single day. No
morning or night?
Try to do it in the morning.
Yeah.
Try to do it in the morning.
Right when you wake up.
Try to do it when I wake up. Sometimes I'm able to do it. So actually, with the one of the clients I take out for dayhab, he goes to the gym. I can go to the gym with him. And so sometimes on those Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Getting paid. Yeah. So yeah, I try to do that all the time. Also, a couple times during the year, we take really good vacations where I'm completely off. Like we went to Hawaii, and I didn't, really check in with work at all. Like they knew how to contact me if it was an emergency.
Is that hard?
Whatnot. It was hard at first, but I hire really good staff and I pay them well.
Nice.
So I can take these and I can have like confidence that everything is going well. And so like taking these vacations, before, I haven't been doing this as of late, but years ago, I think about 4 years ago, we were really good at going to Girdwood once a month, going to the hotel there. It just relax, just going out to the hotel. It's almost like you're in a different state.
A
right?
weekend?
Yeah, not even a weekend, just a night. Like go out there, go out to eat, go chill out in the pool, just go relax. It just
Go to the
resets.
spa now.
Yep, exactly.
Ew, yeah.
And so it's just like you look forward to it every single month. It's just like, I don't know. For me, it just
I
worked
love
for
that
us.
idea.
Yeah, great idea.
I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah, write that down.
let's all go the same
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah.
You're here. Whoa.
Let's do a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
ladies. See ya. Yeah, you guys have a lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I try to do that. And then like the journaling and just like I talk to myself all the time. Like I was earlier today, I was talking to myself in my garage. Our, landscape people for our condo association was out there and I was like, do they think I have schizo? Do they think I'm one of the clients?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But yeah.
What is it? Just like you talking yourself like through something, or is it like just psyching yourself up? Like you got this, you got this, you can do this. Like
I should start doing that.
Yeah.
Like, just doing every masculine, thing I could do. No,
everybody's like, is he okay?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's when the people think that.
There's Lonnie again. He's flexing over there.
Like, what's this? Yeah. I talk myself through ideas, like thoughts. I pray out loud. That's just me communicating out loud. Get everything that I have, like in there, just bring it out. Talk myself through like the day, what I'm going to be doing. If I'm going to be speaking to anybody, even like this, talk myself through like, oh, if they ask me this question, how am I going to explain that with these points as clearly as I can? Like I'm trying to like think about those things that are coming up in my day.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like, as long as I do it at least once, then when the time comes, it's almost like I can, I've already been here before. I can go ahead.
already visualized it.
You're
You've
prepping
already
yourself
done
for
it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's one question that you practiced that we haven't asked yet?
I think you asked all of them.
Oh, we are in
we
uncharted
are-
territory
Man,
here, boys.
you guys are good.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I have
Because
another
we
one.
were there.
Yeah.
We were listening.
We're in your ear.
We were listening.
Was it, am I
Yeah.
We are journalists.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the speaking part, like
Yeah.
going to schools and speaking. What got you into wanting to do that?
Yeah.
And then, like, what do you speak about when you're there? And
Yeah.
like, what's your goal there?
Yeah, my goal there is to uplift. So there's so many kids who were in positions that I was in, whether that's like, man, I've been connected in somewhat working on the work side with like OCS. And so I just know there's so many crazy stories out there. And these kids are going through crazy things. And so what I want when I go there and I speak, I want to tell them my story, right? I'm someone who's been like sexually abused and all that stuff growing up. And so when a kid hears that and they see me, this like figure who's big, strong, confident, like he's successful. All of a sudden they're like, oh, my life doesn't have to go this way that I thought it was going to go because it didn't go that way for him. And so I want, try to get them to be able to see that and to give someone to like, oh, okay, if he can do it, I can do it. And so I try to go there and I try to have like a topic, whether it's adjustment, goal setting, whatnot, but I share like those intimate parts of my stories in between there. And then I always leave my email. And so kids can respond back to me and ask me questions.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And so do you actually have a correspondence going with kids and like?
Yeah. So a lot of the kids actually will reach out to me, like they'll find me on like social media and they'll just like send me, I'm like, oh, does your parents even know you have a social media? But kids will like, they'll tag me in a question. I'll go in the mall and they'll come up to me and just talk to me. And a lot of the conversations, it's like, they're not asking me anything specific. I just know it's like real recognizes real, right?
Yeah.
I can look at a kid and have a conversation with him and be like, I was in the same shoes as him. No one needs to tell me. I just know. And the fact that we're having this conversation, it's doing something in him where he's like, okay, I'm good. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be all right. And so little conversations like that when I'm out having, with the kids, I think that's what it is. So they're not asking me anything specific about what I did or what happened to me or anything like that. I think they just want to connect with somebody who went through something similar as them and someone who found success on the other side of whatever that road is.
I love that.
Yeah.
Man, I think, because that's something I feel like, like always kind of escapes entrepreneurs almost to a point because we get so focused in on like what we're doing.
Right.
And then we forget to, rely or, give back, I guess you could say, to what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Instead of like, I think I was just thinking about this today. I was journaling.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Looking for that,
You're better than me. I get it.
There it is. That's what I
Yeah.
wanted. So I wanted. No, I'm just kidding. I was journaling today, and I was just like, I'm so focused on like my business and like going for my goals and what I want, and then like sometimes like I forget like if me and my wife we talk about goals a lot, but then like friends it doesn't happen like friend nights or going out for beers with a buddy or doing this or doing that, and like I think you're finding a way of like kind of having a nice balance, but also making sure you give back and like giving back to your community, but also, your heart for humanity also shines through.
Yeah.
Definitely. From like, we just met.
Yeah.
Like right before this podcast. And so like, I can definitely feel that coming from you.
Real recognizes real.
Real recognizes real.
Right there.
I wasn't going to say it, but you did. No, I think that's super cool. I love that. And so when like these kids are like emailing you, kind of like, is that like something that kind of keeps going consistently?
No, so usually
just like one and done.
Usually what happens is so the school will offer my email to the kids.
Okay.
And say, hey, if you want to say anything, they'll ask them specific questions. If you want to say anything to him about what he said or anything, go ahead and let him know. And so I'll get all these responses. Usually it's just one and done. I'm going through this, I'm going through that, I'm going through this, I'm going through that type thing. And then sometimes, and I'll usually go through the parent, like I'm telling the parent, I'll connect with the parent like, hey, I'm talking to your kid, this is what I told them.
Yeah.
And we'll go through that channel. If it's like a kid that really reached out to me, really wants to connect. But yeah.
I kind of love that because like as a kid, if I definitely heard someone come to my school, I would be like too shy to talk to them.
Right.
But if there was an email address or like social media existed at that time, would have been a little easier to been like just send that message or send that email. So that's really kind of cool that you're available at that time. So when it comes to doing all of these things, you have your consulting on Mondays and Fridays and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. You have the the assisted living. What did you call it?
Group homes, yeah.
Group homes. And then, Monday through, and then you also have family, and then you also have coaching, and then you also have speaking engagements. What do you do when you relax? Do you relax?
I do relax.
What's your go-to relax thing?
Reading.
Okay. Novels.
Yeah. Autobiographies.
Okay.
I like reading, autobiographies.
What's one that you've read recently that you're like?
The Tank Man, this guy named, what's his first name? Last name is Bowman. He actually is from up here, but his dad was this crazy military guy, and he just had a bad childhood growing up. But there's like a lot of like just like truths and little one-off things. I think like if he were well known, it'd be like a New York Times bestseller type thing. I'm reading another book by Remy Adeleke. He is a guy who went and passed buds a couple times. SEAL training.
A couple times?
Yeah, dude. He
like a David
got
Goggins
out exactly type
Jr.?
thing. Yeah, right.
Just like got out, do it again. I guess I liked it so
too
much.
easy.
Fine.
It's too easy,
do
guys.
it again.
That Hell
Yeah.
Week.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
But I like those people who like did extraordinary things. Like I like hearing and seeing and figuring out what are the consistencies in between them and the next person.
Yeah.
But I like reading those things. Yeah.
Do you like reading about people doing really hard things to make you feel like you're not doing enough?
No. I like reading people who did really hard things because it helps me. I can't experience. So, entrepreneurship, speaking, it's all about connecting with people.
Right.
I might not have ever been in someone's shoes, but the more you read about people and the more you're able to like see their lives and dig deep into their stories, the more you can connect with someone who might be able to connect with them. Because I might not have been in your shoes, but I've been in this person, or I've read this person's book. You guys went through the same thing. And so I feel like I can have a conversation. And so that's how
It's kind of like reading people.
Yeah.
Like it's like you're gathering this information about somebody. I could see that. I mean, I definitely like reading about extraordinary stories because I feel like there's so many things I will never experience in my life. But like reading about them is kind of, secondhand where you're like, man, that must have been incredibly hard. And I do try to use it for motivation for myself because I'm like, man, I'm not really doing enough for some reason, like especially like a David Goggins, I tried running 100 miles. It didn't.
screw that.
It didn't. I don't think
I'll read about it.
I was going to say,
Fuck that.
I don't know if
Nope.
we counted up every mile in my entire life if I'd reach 100 yet. But it's crazy to read and you realize what the human mind and body's capable of.
Right.
It's kind of where I go with it because I'm like, I'm feeling tired. I don't want to send this email or do the podcast, whatever. And it's like, I know it's so minute, but you realize like it should be something you can handle.
Oh yeah,
with relative ease when you think about what people can push through. So I'm like, okay, I'm being weak right now.
Yeah.
Do it. So.
And like the competitor in me, and when it comes to like the same competitor in me that was in basketball, was in entrepreneurship, all that stuff, everything that I do. And when I'm reading these like books and I'm seeing how other competitors are, I'm learning to like, okay, I just need to compete this way a little bit more. Bill Gates stayed up all night multiple times to get his business off the ground. He did this, and now look at him. Okay, I can stay up one night to figure that. Like that encourages me and kind of motivates me to like do what I have to do. And then the other thing is this: readers, for the most part, like leaders have been readers, right? There's a reason why like all the greats, when it comes to the people that I look up to in the speaking and stuff like that, they have studied and read about people who are real life before them. It's just consistent. And so I just see what they do and I just kind of copy like this has to be a routine I need in my life.
Yeah.
I love that.
When did that come about? Were you always a reader or did it happen at some point where it was like a light switch where it was like, this is what I need to be doing to absorb the most information the quickest I can?
Yeah. When I started doing my own entrepreneur stuff, like the serious stuff, not the t-shirt business, but when I was like, had to figure out like, how do I figure out this business?
Right.
It's in books everywhere. Like the blueprint somewhere out there, you just got to figure it out. And then like reading about people who did it helped me. And I was like, oh man, there's just something in books for me that just I can learn from. But then like that whole process of getting up early in the morning, being in a quiet corner by yourself, nobody's up, it's just quiet. It just relaxes me.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you get your daughter to read? Is she a reader?
Oh, I make her read 45 minutes a day.
Wow.
She has to read before she touches any of her electronics. She has to read 45 minutes, but she'll fight it. She probably lies like, oh yeah, I did it. Oh, you read? For real? You read the
Let's see that
45?
outline.
Yeah. Exactly, right?
Well, that's one thing that, because I think about that is I read as a kid quite a bit, I think, but I didn't really dig into reading until like probably my mid-20s. Like after I was no longer forced to. And then I was like, I need to absorb as much information. So I started reading, but like dealing with a stepson or somebody, I'm always like, you should be reading. You have so much access. I'll buy you whatever books you want. But it feels like this generation is like, they don't know what books hardly are anymore because everything's digital.
Yep.
And so
okay, boomer.
yeah, I know. I'm freaking old, but it's interesting that It's like you want them to read because it's not, you don't want to torture them.
Yeah.
You just realize that there's so much answers and information that they could have anytime they wanted that isn't on YouTube.
Yeah, but see, I mean, we've started businesses and stuff like that, and it's like I read maybe a little bit, but it wasn't until recently that I started reading every day.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, right.
I was always
nice.
Yeah.
I think I grew up being like, this is boring as hell.
Yeah.
But it always, I'm a big imagination person now. And so tapping into that, like daydreaming and reading a novel or, whatever, it's like tapping into your creativity, but then also, oh, wow, you're learning this over here. And then, oh, okay. So it wasn't until like 30 that I was like making it a consistent thing, like reading every morning or even in the afternoon. Like I was reading right before this. And then I was like, oh, this. And then I started journaling. I'm like,
Jeez,
it's just one thing after another, dude.
Hitting it out of the park.
Baby.
Lonnie gets it.
Yeah. I got it.
Lonnie gets it.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned that earlier, my mom made me read growing up. Kind of same way I make my daughter do it. Like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on how old you were. But yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think the big thing is like we have the toddler that we read because they're like, you need to read to your child from birth until they can start reading to make that ingrain that habit. And so I'm like, we read 4 or 5 books every night, and it's like a lot of times you don't little books. Okay.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
Just like,
Crush It.
yeah.
Yeah. The
Outliers
War
by
and Peace.
Malcolm Gladwell.
The War and
Sun
Peace.
Tzu.
Did you get that, son?
Yeah, there's a lot. Do you
just like-
understand what I'm telling you? This is solid gold.
Yeah, right?
So, yeah, I'm really hoping that sticks. And I do feel like girls and boys are different when
Yeah.
it comes to reading. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody really loves it, but I feel like girls grow more. I don't know what it is.
I mean,
boys seem like they don't care about reading.
I think that's
for a
why
long
I
time.
started reading more, is because like when me and Alicia got together, Alicia was like a reader and like she journals.
I read
She's
too.
a leader.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, I guess if I don't want to sit here and just do nothing, so I guess I'll read with you. So it definitely learned
Inspired
its way-
you to do it.
Yeah, through her. So you read a lot, but anything else that you like?
Yeah, like
enjoy
you got some
doing?
guilty pleasure shows.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Netflix.
Now you're
Yeah, what's
speaking
your-
our
what's-
language.
What's your continue watching look like?
Okay, so right now I'm watching House of Cards.
Oh,
Yeah, I did watch that back in the day. I don't know why I quit. Like, I have a hard time.
I think we know why we all quit.
You know.
I know.
Yeah,
I know why I quit.
Yeah, but exactly. But it's been coming back on. I'm like, you know what? Whatever.
He's a bad person.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm there. Of course, The Office. That's just background noise.
That's
we're
Kyle.
part of the-
That's
we're
my
part-
wife, and that's Kyle.
Yeah.
God, that's my jam.
They can quote every episode.
I know everything.
And then I'm
It's
like,
just-
what episode was that? I've seen it
season
every
4.
season.
16.
Yeah.
Like seriously,
Jeez.
where you
Yeah,
been?
I've seen like every season, like every episode
Not-
like 4
you haven't
times.
seen
But I haven't watched
know.
it like these guys have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
House of Cards, Office, anything else?
Office. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I like all those shows that are just kind of like the House of Cards, where politics and all that stuff. Like it just fascinates
I've been
me.
watching Jack Ryan.
Oh,
on
yeah,
Prime.
dude. I've been
the
watching-
new season
yeah.
just came out,
Dude.
and I just started yesterday, and
God, I gotta
guilty
start it
pleasure.
now.
All 4 episodes are done already.
Hey,
I was like, damn.
Jack Reacher. Have you tried that one?
Yeah.
too?
Oh yeah,
Dude.
That
I
was a
like
good
that
one.
one. It was way more intense than I
Yeah.
thought too. Like I know that guy because he was like a funny dude, like in a show a long time ago, and I can't take him seriously. And then all of a sudden, I was like, he like ripping dudes' heads off or whatever. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
Yeah.
all right. Well, now my mind has changed about you, my guy.
I think
Yeah.
I have a crush.
Yeah.
That's not what I said.
Soundbite.
Yeah, I was watching it with my wife. I like covered her eyes. He's ugly. Don't even look at him. Would you say he's soft?
Yeah.
He's kind of got
He's
soft
super
features.
Similar to me, right?
Yeah.
Similar.
Super soft.
Kind of
Yeah.
similar builds.
Yeah.
Weird. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm medium build. Hey. Anyway, well, where can people find you? With social media,
Yeah,
websites.
Yeah, I wish I was on social media more actively, but Lonnie_Ridgeway is my Instagram. So a lot of people DM me if they have any questions or want to connect with me. And then, yeah, I am working on, actually with my consulting stuff, I don't even have a website yet. Everything's been word of mouth, so which is nice.
That's nice.
Yeah, it is nice. And then, so Lonnie_Ridgeway, my Instagram is probably where people are going to find me if they want to get in contact with me. Cool. I'm active on LinkedIn as well.
oh, you doing a LinkedIn?
Do the LinkedIn, man. You know, it's just
My business coach says I should do that.
You should.
And I'm like, it's like another social media. But then all of a sudden,
you just got Threads.
Threads came out. I'm like, what's up? This is cool. I love this. And then LinkedIn, I'm like, business. I don't know why.
There's not enough creatives on there.
Maybe that's what it is. It's funny because like he hit my, this is tangent, but he's like, here's my step-by-step process to make, so much money in your video business every month. And then it's like basically a lot through LinkedIn. Yeah. And I'm like, for some reason, I just have this mental block towards like spamming people on LinkedIn. It's like, messages like, hey, Lonnie, I realize you have a business. Well, I have a film business.
I have a camera and I'd like to film you.
That's crazy. Yep. Well, I'd like to make you a video. I just like, there's some reason I'm
Did you say you were interested in insurance? Like, who told you that?
Yeah. I saw a post from 2010 that you talked about. It's like, no, stop. Just end this conversation now. So maybe I'll get on LinkedIn one of these days. You on Threads?
I'm not on Threads.
Interesting.
Do I need to be?
No, I mean, it's like...
Come on, do I need to be? My personality. Like,
I think you would do really well.
Okay.
It would be a good play. I mean, it's Twitter, right?
It's exactly...
Twitter
it's a copy.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Elon Musk is right there. It is basically
So you could be on there dropping,
Yeah, but I've already... So, I mean, like, the one reason I love Twitter, and I never like post on Twitter. I was always just a lurker.
Right.
And it was just the one thing of just like
that
sharing.
Sounds creepy.
Yeah.
But the way you said it is just a lurker.
Yeah.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Like, some call it a creeper.
I'm the same.
I call it a lurker.
What are synonyms are you?
I'm a watcher, observer. I don't know. I'm the same on Reddit. I just like scrolling, and but Twitter, the thing that I would always like want my algorithm to be would be like, here's successful tips on what I learned, and here's how you can add it to your life, or here's 5 things I learned by growing my business in 30 days, or something like that. And so it's like, that's what I love Twitter for, and then I just don't use it anymore. And then Threads came out, and I'm starting to see more of that, and I just feel better. Yeah. Twitter just was like, there's a lot of just ads and stuff. Right now, Threads has no ads. There's no like, I'm being force-fed anything right now, so it does feel good. Yeah. But also that's probably going to change, so I'm enjoying it while I got it.
Threads.
Yeah, I mean, you just link your Instagram too, so you don't even have to like sign up. Huh. So it makes it really easy. Yeah. But anyway, well, Lonnie, dude, man, this was a treat. Yeah. This was amazing. Like I said earlier, like we just met in the kitchen, like 5 minutes before we started recording, and like I didn't know a lot of the stuff about you. I didn't know that you were like an entrepreneur too. That's one thing this guy left out. And so I was like, oh, sweet. I love talking about that shit. So I appreciate you coming on and talking about it and being open and telling us where you came from and fixing our knowledge. Yeah, you guys aren't gift people. Can you get my bag for a second? Oh, no.
I didn't say he wasn't a gift person.
But you guys are going to accept these gifts.
God. I'm a physical touch.
That's that one right there.
If somebody tells me to accept a gift, though, I will do it.
The only gift we have is that little mini sticker right now right in front of you.
You guys will like these. I'm a big watch person.
What?
So.
What the heck?
What the? Yeah. What the heck, dude?
Why do we get watches?
Because you don't have one on your wrist, and that just goes with, like, you'll see it. It just goes with you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
These seem like really nice.
They're good watches. Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
This one's a Disney one too.
Yeah.
Disney?
Oh, we might need to.
He's a big Disney guy.
Go ahead, switch it up. It just hurts my feelings, but whatever.
DC.
I
you
love
don't
Walt
even want to hear his obsession with Disney. This podcast can only go 5 hours?
Oh my gosh. Look at that, everybody. And PJ, if you want to zoom in on that. That's so nice, dude. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm a big watch guy. And so I love.
This is awesome because now every guest that comes on is going to be like,
set the bar.
We got to step it up.
Set the bar.
We got to step it up.
Did you watch episode 128?
Yeah.
Is this 128? I think this is actually.
I think it's going to be somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Lonnie.
absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
dude.
thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Yeah. We appreciate you, and we're rooting for you. And
We'll come stay at your homes when we're old enough.
Absolutely.
yeah, we'll take our money.
just
You'll be like,
We'll be there.
You'll
and-
still be healthy running around, and we'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have drank all those beers when I was 30.
What's the pants policy there?
whatever you want.
There's a no pants room. It's in your bedroom.
I'm a robe guy. I will be.
Oh God! As long as it's closed.
Yeah. No, well,
Kyle, sash it up, dude. Sash it up.
that's the caveat. I sit spread. It's not pretty. So.
God. Oh my God.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in. Kyle and Steven will be back with a new episode next week. In the meantime, check out gofixyourselfpodcast.com. And remember to always go fix yourself.